I'm Neil, and I'm the teacher.
And I'm Sean, and I'm the deal maker. Together,
We're the Rise Guys.
Every tenant dispute starts the same way. Two people, both convinced the other side is wrong, both digging in. And today I am giving you the 8-step system that flips that dynamic and turns a fight into a partnership that actually works. Here's a situation that plays out in property management more often than it should. A tenant submits a maintenance request for a leaking tap. Simple enough. The manager responds by quoting the lease clause about tenant responsibilities for minor repairs. The tenant feels dismissed. They reply, citing their right to quiet enjoyment and the manager's obligation to maintain the property. The manager escalates. The tenant escalates back. 90 days later, both parties are writing formal letters. Every communication has an adversarial edge, and a tap that would have cost $60 to fix is now consuming hours of management time and threatening to go to the residential tenancy dispute resolution process. The tap did not cause this, the approach did. And that is the problem the partnership model solves. Before we get to the solution, let us understand where conflict actually originates. The tenant lifecycle has 4 distinct stages: onboarding, ongoing management, renewals and escalations, and move out or eviction. Conflict enters at every one of them. During onboarding, the most common source is misaligned expectations, and the tenant thought the parking was included, and the manager assumed the lease was clear. That ambiguity, not caught in stage 1, becomes a dispute in stage 2. Ongoing management brings maintenance friction, noise complaints, and quiet enjoyment arguments. Renewals bring the tension of rent increases in a market tenants have been watching. And move out brings the highest stakes argument of all, the security deposit. Here's what every experienced property manager eventually learns. Conflict that starts small and is handled badly in stage 1 almost always comes back larger in stage 4. The partnership approach is not just for resolving disputes, it is for preventing them from compounding. The property management industry has a default setting for tenant conflict, and that default is adversarial. Each party digs into their position. The manager cites the lease. The tenant cites their rights. Every piece of communication is a point in an argument rather than a step toward a solution. Dudley Weeks, a conflict resolution researcher, identified what goes wrong in this approach. When people treat conflict as a battle, they spend all of their energy on winning rather than on solving. The result is that both parties lose. His 8-step conflict partnership model starts from a different premise. The conflict is not something one party wins and the other loses. It is something both parties experience, and it is something both parties can work together to resolve. The language shifts from "I need you to do this" to "we need to find a way through this." That shift sounds simple. In practice, it completely changes the dynamic. Here's how the 8-step model actually works. Step 1 is creating the atmosphere. This means choosing the right time, the right setting, and the right opening tone before the conversation begins. A maintenance dispute handled in the hallway during move-in chaos is never going to land well. Step 2 is clarifying perceptions. Before either party can solve anything, both parties need to understand what the other actually believes is happening. You do not have to agree. You have to understand. Step 3 is focusing on individual needs, not positions. The tenant's position might be fix the tap immediately. Their underlying need is a functional, safe living space. Once you address the need instead of the position, options multiply. Building positive power is the 4th step. This is not leverage. It is cooperative capacity. What can both parties actually do? What resources and authority exist that could move this toward resolution? This initial cluster of steps that does not solve the conflict. It creates the conditions in which solving it becomes possible. The back half of the model moves from understanding to resolution. Step 5 is learning from the past, not to assign blame, but to understand what preceded the conflict. A maintenance dispute that recurs every winter has a history. That history reveals the pattern, and the pattern reveals the real problem. Step 6 is generating options. This is a brainstorm. Both parties put ideas on the table without filtering or judging. The tenant's idea might be impractical. Put it up anyway. The manager's idea might cost too much. Put it up anyway. The point is to get every possible path to resolution visible before narrowing down. Step 7 is developing doable actions. Now you filter. Which options are actually achievable? Who is responsible for each one, and by when? Vague commitments do not survive past the conversation. Specific actions do. And step 8 is making a mutually binding agreement. Both parties commit to the specific actions they agreed to. That agreement is the end of the conflict partnership process. It is not the end of the relationship. It is the beginning of a repaired one. Let me give you the practical takeaway. The 8-step conflict partnership model is most powerful when you do not wait for a dispute to start. Build the partnership mindset into how you run your tenancies from day one. Use onboarding to set mutual expectations, not just to hand over a lease and a key. Frame the renewal conversation as a shared problem. Here's what the market looks like. Here's what we both need. Let us figure out what works. And when a conflict does start, name it early. The earlier you apply the model, the fewer steps you have to climb before reaching resolution. The adversarial approach to tenant conflict is expensive. It costs management hours, legal fees, and vacancy days when a tenancy ends badly. And the partnership model does not just resolve disputes. It produces outcomes both parties can live with, which means longer tenancies, fewer replacements, and a better run building. That is the show for this week. I will see you in the next one. New webinar summary every week. Subscribe so you never miss one.